Oh, right back. All right, I have some folks with me tonight. This is going to be a little different than the other interviews where it's just one person kicking off a book, because today we are kicking off an anthology. So specifically Tales from the Fellowship of the Indie Author, Volume 1, which releases today. So this one is actually one that I have participated in myself. So I have a short story in there, and so does all these other gentlemen that are joining me tonight. So again, a little bit different as far as how we're going to structure this. I'm going to give I'll introduce myself again. I'll give Jason and KP here a chance to introduce themselves, maybe even pitch their own story. But we're talking about an anthology, so it's going to be more of a collaborative conversation, I think, than some of the other interviews. So again, I'm Jessica Barbary. I am an author, and I'm doing this podcast, but I was a contributor in this particular anthology. This was my first short story that I've written and published. I'll kick it over to Jason, I guess. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Jason.
Oh, sorry. Sure. Yeah. My name is Jason Meiser. I'm a published author of 3 books, and this is my first anthology short story that I've been a part of. It's really fun to write it. Sorry, forgot to mute the phone.
That's the beauty of live.
Yeah.
All right, KP.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having us on. This is also my first anthology being a part of, and it was a great process. As you said, collaboration all the way around, from finding the editor to the cover art to the stories themselves. I have published other stories. Horror is my genre, so I try to lean into that for my contribution to this, the Eerie List.
Awesome. All right. So the interesting thing about this anthology is that it's not genre specific. So as you just heard, horror, mine's more sci-fi. I don't know, Jason, what is your story? Where did you classify
Mine was
that?
more psychological thriller.
Okay. So you can see that it's an interesting opportunity to get a taste of a lot of different genres of writing from different authors. I know that there are some fantasy stories. I think there's a lot of variety in here that you're not just going to, typically when you pick up an anthology, it's pretty like clustered around one thing. So this is a sci-fi anthology or a, horror anthology or something like that. So this is it's cool in that way that it's a bit different. Mm-hmm. So I'll make a quick pitch for my particular story. So I have a short sci-fi story that is following a downtrodden young man. Though I'll frame this though first, that the unifying feature of all of these stories is that they somehow have to include a monolith. So in my case, the young man has been assigned to a guard post station in front of one of these said monoliths that nothing ever happens at. And of course, he notices one of the cameras went out on the front of the guard station, and he goes out to look at it. And then he notices that that's the camera on the monolith. So he decides to touch it. And that is a fateful move. So touching the monolith ends up triggering the arrival of, we'll say, an alien being that sends him on a little short adventure through the forest. So that would be my story. Who wants to go next?
I can go. So mine was about basically a killer using the portal to find others of himself and to come together as almost like a hive mind, which is so it's actually is very creepy in a way, but I really enjoyed it because all of these different same killers, they exhibited the same the same thought patterns, but each of them were a little bit different, um, but the portal understood it was being manipulated, and so it sent a correction out into the universe, and the correction, it culminates in what would be the finality of the book.
Excellent.
Awesome. Mine's called The Eerie List, and one set of stories I write, most of my horror revolves around three things: either one, original stories; two, my take on classics like mummies, werewolves, vampires, that type of thing; and third would be stories that are set in the fictional town of Patrick, Ohio, which is in East Erie County. And those stories specifically focus around the East Erie Company. So the idea of that was to kind of replace heaven and hell as a motif and use the East Erie Company as provides, like, they uh, fear is their product. So I use this opportunity to kind of tell a story set in East Erie County, revolving around the CEO, the leader of the Erie Company, and he's in the car. The driver is the one telling the story, and it's basically, there's an old man and a young boy who you find out are not in any way related. The presumption is that they are related. But when they get to the monolith and they're able to get past the guards and everything, because the CEO has the ability to just get people to do what he wants. When they go there, he's curious about this thing because he didn't have anything to do with it. One of the rules that we had in doing these stories is that we weren't really supposed to talk about how the monoliths came about. We weren't supposed to be able to destroy them or alter them really in any way. So this guy, being someone who is kind of supernatural and has this ability to produce fear, he was, curious about himself. So he takes these two people to the monolith, has them both touch it, and when they come back, the old man is still there, and the young boy is with him. And whichever is that, how it affected the old man is it let him look back on his past, and instead of just seeing his past as it was, he saw all the possible pasts that he could have had, which is really an infinite amount of choices that you could have made that you didn't make. And the burden of that kind of just crushes him, and he's stuck there and it kills him basically. And for the young boy, his curse, I guess you would say, is that he sees the path ahead of him as it will be. And so he doesn't necessarily understand the things he sees, but the CEO of this company takes great glee in the fact, knowing that, at some point this kid's going to be afraid of water because he dies in water at some point in his life. And so it's just kind of a way to look at, your past can be infinite, your future can be infinite. And it kind of flips those two dynamics. Whereas your past, instead of just being what it was, it's this infinity of things that it could have been. And I think we all kind of look back on life sometimes and wonder what if, and if we had made different choices. And this is really just taking that to an extreme, and just the gravity of it is too much.
I love that. So again, a lot of diversity, I think, here for the readers to check out, and I think I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to reading some of the stories. I've read a couple, but not all of them. So I myself I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody put out there, because I know there's a great diversity. I think there's 18. Is it 18 people that contributed?
19
stories? 19.
authors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious, as far as this idea got proposed. So we're all part of what's called the Fellowship of the Indie Author, which is just a group. It originated here it was on X first, and then there's a Discord channel that popped up, so people are over on there as well, having conversations. The idea of the group was to just help other authors, self-published or indie authors that were trying to learn about the industry, get advice, get writing feedback, find cover artists, all this different stuff that you have to do in order to get your work out there. It was meant to be a centralized resources where we could essentially crowdsource some of that knowledge. So that's the organization or the group that originally came up with this idea. And I think the original idea for the story was that what if we just kind of did a story where everybody kind of continued on the same type of story, but then it turned into the anthology. And again, like I said, I had not myself done an anthology before, so the idea of okay, can I write a short story was actually a new frontier for me. But what was the thing that inspired you guys to go ahead and participate in this when you saw it pop up as a suggestion?
You know, for me, it came at an odd time because, like you, I normally focus on novels, and so I don't write a lot of short stories. And for me, I had just started a new job. We just had a new baby in April, and so I had a lot of things going on at the time, and I was really trying to focus on this new job, and I hadn't been writing for, maybe a month, except for doing some like editing and that type of stuff. And this opportunity came up, and at first I was maybe not going to do it because I didn't want to step away from the learning process of the new job. But I was really intrigued by. I knew I was going to kick myself if I didn't get involved because it was such a great group, and I love the what we have going on over there. And so for me, it was an opportunity to do that, and I kind of let me have a little bit of time away from the new job and get my head back into writing. And I really like the story wrote itself pretty quickly, and then editing it took several weeks and whatnot, and several times through. But no, I think being a part of the process and wanting to be part of that group in a more extensive way is really what kickstarted me to want to be involved.
How about you, Jason?
For me as well. For me, what really drove me to want to do it was to actually be part of the FOTIA, the fellowship, to grow some camaraderie among the fellow indie authors, and to just kind of be a part of that whole thing. So I just kind of immediately jumped on the idea that I'm doing this. So there was no point I was going to not do it.
Yeah, it's funny. I think I didn't even know, like I wasn't paying attention at the time when I think it was originally proposed, but Delinda kind of harassed me during one of my I think one of my spaces on Sunday. I was like, "You're gonna write a story, right, Jessica?" And I was like, "I guess so. I can do that." So then I had some catching up to do. Let's just say that. But overall, I found the experience to be pretty for a large group of people to coordinate. It's not always very easy. I definitely work professionally. We have when you have a large team and you're trying to get everybody in alignment, a lot of the time that creates a lot of tension. I didn't really experience that. I felt like everybody was very cooperative and things went pretty smoothly. I'm curious as far as, your experience, both of your experience with the whole process.
I agree. Everyone left their ego at the door, and that's something I talk about in my job, and it's true. I mean, we all just kind of pitched in. We all had ideas. No one really got too butthurt about anything that came up, or we voted on the topics, and there were some diverse topics, and I don't think anyone was really too at what we landed on. We might have lost a couple people, but I think that was more just a case of time constraints and whatnot. So yeah, it was awesome, and I think part of it too was the idea of the zero budget, and that was itself a challenge. And how can we make this work without having to spend money or put money into it? And it's our time and our creative effort, and we're all creative types, and I think we like that kind of challenge. And to me, that was an important part of it too.
Yeah, it just felt like it was just a big group that I felt no apprehension or tension among anyone that participated. It was refreshing, honestly.
Honestly, yeah, I agree.
You know, and so it just made it easy to, to do everything, and then to help out Jessica. I think I was the one that edited yours, if
Yep.
I remember correctly. Yeah. And I even enjoyed all of that. It was just a fun process, and I'd love to do it again, honestly.
Yeah, I honestly hope that, obviously this is the first time. I think it was, I believe this was a success. I hope that they, everybody can coordinate and maybe do it again. I liked the experience. I like the idea that, this is a marketable thing to me. Like, my plan is to be able to get some author copies, be able to take these with me when I go to selling events. Not only does it expose people to other authors, but it gives me something else to market or to go to market with as an author, because not everybody, walks by my table and is like, I'm into what you're reading, but 19 other or 18 other stories that are different or varied or might be inspirational or inspire them to give it a try when they otherwise wouldn't have. So
That's a great, yeah.
yeah, I think it's a good option. So if you're buying it because as a reader, because you're familiar with Jason's work and you really like Jason's work, and then all of a sudden you discover that you really like Nathan's work or Ian's work, and now you've branched out and you can find other writers. So I think it's great, and I definitely hope that they do it more, and would be eager to participate.
100%, I agree with that.
Definitely.
And with the price point, it's, I mean, you can't really go wrong. I mean, it's so inexpensive for 19 stories. Like, even if you don't like half of them, I mean, you're still getting, 9 or 10 stories that you're going to love. I mean, and I think, honestly, having read probably half of them, I think people will enjoy more than they don't, for sure. There's something for everybody.
Yeah, there was I'm gonna pop up Ian's comment here as far as like Delinda, Steven, all the people that went extra mile to coordinate this project. Delinda has a Substack that he's been running as the lead up to this release, which has gone through in detail the process of putting this together, which I think is really great. So if you guys feel so inspired to check that out, I can probably put it in the comments or links associated to this video after the stream. But that one it's very great to go through the whole process, like how the idea was conceived, how we got everybody to agree on a plan, how we got everybody to do the group editing and then the cover and all this stuff. It was basically, this happened with $0, which is amazing. Like, everything was crowdsourced, volunteer time. It was great.
Yeah, no, I agree. And him doing that process, it was pretty awesome. I mean, because if you look at, our group at the whole, we're indie authors, right? And a lot of times there's, if you go on Facebook, there's groups for, authors and whatnot. And a lot of times it gets into like, people aren't necessarily so helpful. And I think this is kind of the opposite of that, because it does let a roadmap for someone who was not involved and wants to pursue their own career. Like, they could look at that and say, hey, this is how these people did it. And I maybe don't have 19 stories, I have one story, but, I can use Reedy, or I can, find, someone to help me collaborate, and maybe I put the editor or whatnot, and and it is like a scratch my back type thing, and that's really a fellowship, honestly.
Which is honestly what we indie authors need. We need to be able to come together and do stuff like this, because it makes we just need something for ourselves, a niche or something that, that says this is ours, and we have the capability to put something out into the world that people will resonate with.
So I'm curious as far as where the genesis of your ideas came from. So maybe Jason, if you want to start, how did you come up with your original idea for the story? Do you feel did it take you a while to come up with it? Like, how quick did it?
I had a basic idea, because I mostly write psychological thrillers. so I kind of had a bit of an idea of a killer manipulating the the portal to meet his own other selves. But I'm a complete pantser as well. So I kind of write and go on a journey, and then just write that journey down as I'm going. So it's a I love the process, but it's really hard to describe as well. I see the movie in my head, and I'm just typing away.
How long did it take you to finish the first draft of just this short story?
Oh, probably I'd say a week and a half, because I can typically bang out 1,000 words in a day, and so yeah, it probably only took about a week and a half to finish it.
How about you, KP?
A little bit less than that. I mean, I was pretty I'm pretty fortunate. I get first drafts out pretty quickly, and then I spend more time editing it. So I definitely spent a lot more time rereading it and kind of tweaking it and fine tuning it a little bit. But the idea was just, again, I mean, I wanted to use. I kind of knew I wanted to use this fictional setting I have. In another story, I had the driver used to be a writer, and he kind of just got, sucked into being the driver. So that seemed like a natural fit. I did it from it's a first person story. So that again made it, he's kind of the one telling the story. And at the end, there's some ambiguity about how it ends up for him, which to me is the horror part. But honestly, I was listening to a Pink Floyd song and from the final cut, and there's one called The Possible Past. And, they flutter behind you, your possible past. And I think I just kind of started thinking about that. And that kind of became the kernel for, hey, this is what the monolith is going to do in my story. Because, we all kind of had some freedom. Like, what does the monolith do? Is it, portal, which I think a lot of people did, or, whatnot. And so to me, it was a portal to this other, the dimension being the future or the past, like our options that we have as, as people, the choices we make.
Love it. So, and as far as the editing experience, so obviously most of us will reread and edit or self-edit or prepare, and then we did a group edit, but then also had it professionally edited as well. So how is that process as far as the person that reviewed your story? Do you feel like they were very supportive? Did they give you good feedback? Like, what was that collaboration like as far as your experience with having somebody as part of this anthology help you out?
I'd forgotten we did that until Jason mentioned that, to tell you the truth. And it was, I mean, it was super supportive, and that was a great thing. And I was a little nervous, to tell you the truth, because it was, again, I mean, you get 19 personalities, and it's like, what if this one person doesn't particularly understand or like what I'm doing? Then that could really be kind of soul crushing. And it wasn't that way at all. I mean, they were super supportive, and really, I wish they would have found something to critique about it a little more. And but it was awesome, and that was again, like I think one of you said, it was refreshing, and that just, I think, really kind of super boosted my enthusiasm even more for what we were doing. And then Sarah, she's a sister of one of my friends in high school, and I'd heard her talk about wanting to be an editor someday, and like she's she reads a lot, and she does a lot of reviews, and so just I threw it out to her, like, hey, are you interested in, you're not gonna get paid or nothing, but you're gonna get credit for it. And she was so excited about it, and like she's texting me today like, oh, this is so awesome. I mean, she is over the top about having been involved. So I think that was on a personal note, that was kind of a cool part too.
That's great. I didn't actually know that, so I appreciate that connection and how that was handled or made. I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I know we put out a competition for the cover art.
I was part of that.
I saw.
Yeah, I tried out for that part. But as soon as I saw the one that was picked, I said, "Oh, okay, that's the one."
We were
That'd
pretty
be
lucky.
it.
We had some good choices to choose from. I mean, it was they were any we could have really used any one of them, and it would have been cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I personally like this one because the touching of the monolith, so it worked out
Mhm.
for me.
It worked out for me too, honestly. Yeah.
I'll take that. Yeah, so I guess I'm curious as far as what you guys. So now this book is out there. You know, do you see yourself as being somebody who's going to continue trying to push it, like market it? Like, what is your plan to try and see this succeed?
That's a great question. I think to your point, I definitely see it as being something I peddle. I guess with my own books if I do like in person things. The posting on X, Twitter, whatever. So doing stuff like that. But it is a neat tool because like you said, it lets people be exposed to different authors, and I think at the same time maybe gives them a reason to try your stuff as well. And so it's like hey, you got this book from other people, and maybe I'll try this and one of yours and see what it's all about. So I definitely I would like to be a part of what I talk about when I'm talking about my writing, because it was an important, I think, part of my journey as a writer.
I know for me, for Halloween, we always walk the neighborhood with not with our kids, not just with our kids, but our neighbors and their kids. And I was telling them about not um, my newest release, but also this anthology as well, because they're big readers, and so I have actively tried to plug it to someone in real life.
Yeah, no, that's great. Like I said, I've seen a lot of authors have success, you know, especially for I think like the main, I happen to have published many books. I know Jason, you have several books. When you are an author with, let's say, one or even two stories, I think participating in something like this is a great idea, because if you want to do something like, I want to go to a market or a con or something like that to try and sell your work, but you only have one book, sometimes that's a hard sell. But we're talking about participating in an anthology like this. Now you could potentially have another book to market that has you as a credited author in it. And I think from the perspective of somebody, if I can sell people on participating next time this spins around, again, like if you're starting out or you don't have a lot on your own catalog, and it's going to be a year or two before your next book comes out, this could be a great way to participate in things like this, where you can get extra books to put on that shelf and attract buyers and read and sell.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
one of my
bang it
goals is
out in a much shorter time too than a full book.
yeah. One of my goals is to have everyone sign it at some point. Like carry this thing with me if I like you were mentioning some conventions and whatnot, and it's a great opportunity to try to seek out the people that were in it. Because it's a good way to make a connection. It's an icebreaker if we are at events like that. Like hey, is anyone else there that's in this book, or on a bigger scale in the fellowship? And my goal is to have everyone meet them in person and have everyone sign it at some point before I die.
Yeah, there you go. That would be fun.
Awesome.
Do a meetup.
I've wanted that myself, as far like I know that it's in its infancy. It just started this year. So, as an organization, like I know I feel like it's proved itself to be quite valuable. The writing community in general has a lot of drama, but I feel like we've done pretty good with like having a fairly no drama group, or keeping that shenanigans out of here. Um, I would love to meet a lot of you guys in person somewhere and have some sort of meetup or group or something where I can actually see people face to face and interact and stuff.
I think it'd be awesome to do a con together, all of us. The one big FOTIA booth.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's kind of funny is so I wasn't on Discord originally, and Mark, who's the bearded guy, he sent me an invite, and so I went on there, and I think I just kind of stumbled into the fellowship part of the Discord somehow, and I'm not really sure how I became a part of it. I know I think Nicole put out a thing, and I sent a couple books to Arizona to be in some kind of book thing, and all of a sudden I'm not on the Discord part that Mark sent me. I'm on the one with the fellowship, and that was just we had a lot of good back and forth, and then it became hey, let's do this book, and it was it is all very new, and it's pretty cool.
How has your experience as far as outside of the anthology, your involvement within the fellowship, as far as what you use it for? Have you used it to get advice, to give advice, to find resources, find new authors? Like, I'm curious your usage.
I mean, it's definitely the first place I go when I guess I do post stuff on X if I have questions, but if I really want a serious answer and I kind of want it quick, I definitely go to our Discord and put it out there, because someone's always willing to, someone's always on there, and you get an answer pretty quickly, I think. And I feel like the advice I get there is well intentioned, and it's not a lot of sarcasm or like I said, if you go on Facebook and you put a question out on a group, it's a lot of times it's like, I mean, like, why don't you just Google that, or you can find that somewhere else, or why are you asking that? It's like, because they're just like a group. I mean, I thought the point of this was to do that, and I see so many authors who they post a question that to me seems valid, and someone is like, literally like, why don't you Google that? And it's like, really? I mean, is that what we're talking about here? And
Right.
you don't get that with the fellowship. I mean, those guys are and women are they they're it's a fellowship. I mean, we do want to communicate and talk to each other, and that makes it different, I think.
I communicate mostly with the FOTIA on X. I'll go to the Discord server if I need like instructions, on what we were doing, with the anthology. But I mostly, talk to everyone on X because I always have my phone. I don't have my phone hooked up to Discord, so it's handy, and for the most part, if I throw it a question, on how to start recording your own voice, to do so, they always shout out and say, hey, try it this way or something. Yeah, it's always great feedback, and then some fun feedback, and just back and forth silliness, which I do enjoy.
No, I mean, yeah,
Makes it like,
if there's any kind of ruffling of feathers, it's when we're using the promotion channel for just talking, and someone like, hey, don't use this channel for that, and that was pretty funny, and I think that always got a pretty good laugh. I mean, at least on my end, because it's like, yeah, that's okay, that makes sense.
As a general check, guys. So what is next for you guys? This is out. You got a little stamp to have yourself as a published, again, another published author, another credit to your name. What are you guys working on today? Any work in progresses?
So for myself, I'm working on another small short story for Raconteur Press. Came out with an idea about old video games, and I thought that because I'm of the age where I grew up. It was our generation that kind of started it all. And so I came up with a really good idea that kind of about reminiscing about it. And so I'm working on that, but I'm also working on Space Cheese 2, which is hopefully goes well. So that's much in the very beginning stages. So
that press that's doing those groups of anthologies. I have the pets one in my mind. That's the one that my heart is set on, is the creepy pets. But I think that one's later in the year, so I have a while to wait for that. Couldn't come up with a video game submission. Sorry. How about you, KP?
So my collection is kind of I have did a lot of writing back in 2000 to 2003, and then I changed jobs and got married, and life just kind of took over, and I stopped writing, and that's one of my big regrets. But I started again in 2022, and so what I've been doing is trying to release one of the older books once a year, and then fill in like with the newer stuff I write also as as I get them done. So my plan was to end this year with, I have a 5-book werewolf pentology, I've been calling it, and I'm pretty excited about that. But book 1 is just, I realized it needs a little bit more work than I just wasn't ready to release it, and I wanted to make sure it was just right so that you want to read the other 4. So I'm releasing one that I wrote 20 years ago, and that's about computer hackers and the devil, and so that'll be coming out in December. And then the werewolf book, which is a newer one that I've written in the last couple of years, those 5, that'll be coming out in the springtime.
Awesome. Yeah, as far as what I'm working on, I have I have the second book of a trilogy. It was supposed to be a duology, but then it turned into 3 books, and I got halfway through the second book, and then I just got blocked. And I wrote a whole other book, an entire novel, trying to get myself like in the mindset to finish this. And then I, of course, came back to it. I edited through the first 16 chapters, got to that last chapter, and I was like, God damn, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I just finally finished that chapter. So we cleared that hurdle. Hopefully I'll be able to start making some progress again on that one. And my original thought was that I would have that, based on the speed of which I usually write, I was planning on having that released this year, but I don't think that's going to happen. Let's be realistic here. I'm not going to put that pressure on myself. I've done a lot this year.
And being indies, I mean, we create our own deadlines, and so I think
exactly
it makes sense to make sure you get it right as opposed to just kind of rushing to get it out.
Yeah, I need some pressure, but
the pressure's all internal, right? I mean, it's you putting pressure on yourself, which is sometimes the greatest pressure. But no, I think writing things out of order. So like I typically go linearly as far as it goes, but with this, like with the 5-book werewolf thing, I knew how I wanted book 5 to end, and I knew how I wanted book 4 to begin, but I wasn't really sure how to connect them. And so I got about 2/3 of the way through book 4, and I was just kind of stuck. And so what I did is I started writing book 5, and it helped me with like the dynamic of the characters, because they're kind of different people coming together, and that made it so much easier to go back into book 4 and then reach to that point. That I'm glad I didn't like just stick to my guns and just do it straight through, because I'd probably still be stuck on it.
Yeah, that's actually probably a good idea, because I think part of the block in my head is that I'm thinking of where I want it to be. Like I said, it was supposed to be a 2-book series, so I had it mapped out as far as like I knew what I wanted, and now my head's over there. But I did write the last 2 chapters, so I couldn't get past 17 for whatever reason, but I could finish the book. So I wrote the last 2 chapters, and for a while I was like, maybe I'll just have to write it backwards. We'll go 1 chapter at a time backwards through the.
There you go.
Hey, I gotta excuse myself for 1 minute, okay?
No problem.
Sorry.
Got the chats going crazy here for this. Vampires and werewolves.
Sparkly ones.
Nobody likes sparkly. Who likes sparkly vampires?
I know, really.
Lamest invention ever.
What silliness. I almost want to make a parody book about something like that. I know that there's been parody movies about it, but that'd be fun. So
you went from psychological thrillers to a comedy.
Yes.
That's an interesting leap.
My brain, I you know how you're supposed to eat the salad after dinner? My brain needed a bit of a cleanse, but I think I was also kind of in a point where I just need something a little bit different. I need to laugh. You know, I hadn't watched Spaceballs in a long time or something. But yeah, it was definitely a different take. But I enjoyed the heck out of writing it. My girls learned a new word, guffaw, because I'd be down here, you know, on just typing it out, and I'd just be busting up laughing.
I mean, I think we all kind of need that cleanse sometime, and I think that's great. I respect the people with a really solid sense of humor. I don't think I have that bone, so I gotta work with what I got.
My wife says, "Please never lose your sense of humor." So
It's a great quality to have.
It gets you through some times.
Oh yeah. All right. Do any of one of you want to read a little bit from your story?
oh my goodness,
Anyone feel inspired?
I don't think I have mine ready. I'd have to find it.
Gotta search the file system.
I could. It might take me off of the screen for a second. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
I could read you like the first page or something if you let me to.
Sure.
The Eerie List by K.P. Malloy. My time here is short, but sharing what I have seen may be my last chance at doing something memorable. My last chance to make a difference in this world. My last chance to matter. Who am I kidding? Our time here is short. We already knew that. None of us needed the monoliths showing up to be reminded about the brevity of life. They are smart to keep the public away. They are smart to not let people learn the truth. We would lose all the old ones. To this I can attest. The young ones will come away seeming fine, and who knows? Maybe they will learn to live with the inevitability of what they see. But there will be more. Whoever sent them doesn't want these monoliths to remain unseen. Maybe they'll just grow until they are too big to ignore or cover up. Either way, I think they'll just keep coming until they overwhelm the old and unbridle the mysteries of youth from the young. And the ones in the middle, the ones who are neither young nor old, the ones like me. For me, my tomorrow is the last day promised, and I'm not lucky enough to expect a reprieve or early escape. For me, no choice is the only one I dare not make. Like the burdens of life, none of us will be left untouched by the end.
Awesome. I can read a little bit from mine. I'll kind of keep an eyeball on Jason to come back. I turned the sound off.
I had to close that door up there.
As long as mine's locked because I have children that will run in here naked. So, you know, got to lock that
yeah.
How old are your kids?
So I have one that is 8. He is over at grandma's tonight, spending the night for the first time, which is exciting for him. And then I have a 6-year-old and a soon-to-be 3-year-old next month.
Oh, nice.
Then one more is cooking. One more is cooking until. All right. I'm going to read a little bit. I'll just read my first page as well. Gavin's eyes fixed on the sterile-looking cream-colored drapes that had been bunched up at the edge of the wide-open front window of the tin security shack he was sitting in. I bet if I squeezed them, they would drip, he thought, as he fanned his t-shirt. It was an especially humid night. He leaned back on the hard, steel-ribbed chair and looked around himself. The room was dark and austere, with only a few glowing monitors on a desk at his side to provide any illumination. He pushed his palm down on the angular arm of his seat and sighed. They have to give you these so that you don't fall asleep, he considered, as he rose to his feet and paced around. 2 a.m., he read as he leaned over and looked at the clock in the corner of one of the monitors. This is going to be a long night. Not sure why I can't at least have my phone, he scoffed to himself. Gavin walked towards the front window and stared out of it. This was his first day working security for Threshold Defense, the contractor hired by the Interdimensional Objects Security Administration. He fixed his brown eyes on the monolith, its onyx face shining in the moonlight. "Oh, how I'm making my mama proud," he quipped to himself before turning back and looking around for some way to pass the time. He was 23 years old, and he had dropped out of college his freshman year to take a job working as a deckhand on a big Great Lakes freighter. He had done that work for 4 years before losing his job just this month prior when the shipping company installed a new autonomous deck management system. He needed some kind of job fast to get him off his best friend's couch, as staying there was not a long-term option. I need my own place, he knew. To get that would require a security deposit, money he didn't have. Better working here than having to crawl back home where I would never hear the end of it, he reminded himself. His mother had been plenty disappointed with him and his career choices, and made sure to remind him every chance she got. I really need that cash, like yesterday, he scoffed in his mind. The qualifications for this position were pretty basic. No criminal record, the ability to use an analog phone system. He laughed to himself. The graveyard shift offered a $5 an hour bonus, so he figured he could manage for a while. Not like I have a family or even a girlfriend, he grumbled. That's all I got. That's my first page.
Nice.
All right, I found mine. All right, chapter 1. I'm going to just do the first scene of chapter 1. The many. Manny stared at the monolith, not blinking. You, with you, all things are possible. All of my dark dreams, my many dark dreams. Manny felt the pull, the magnetism, the gravity of a convergence. His mind reached out, called out. I see now why I always felt many. Come, come. There felt alive, a low hum pressed against his skull, a vibration, as if the monolith were churning itself to him, to his very frequency, sending that same frequency pulsing through every monolith connected across the universe. Come. The world tilted, flipped, and spun like a discordant top losing motion. Spinning, Manny's stomach revolted, his knees almost buckling. Something broke. Then a shape emerged, stepping forward from the shadows of the black monolith. Manny gasped and held his breath. The man that stepped out of the shadow, he wore Manny's face. The psychotic thrill of meeting his other, one of his many, sent his senses into overdrive. He looked at one of his many over. You are perfect. Older, but not really. His eyes were heavier, mouth more severe, a leaner build, muscles tight like wire. The same cock of his head Manny had caught, staring back at his own mirror all his life. The same overlapped tooth that peeked out just beneath his psychotic grin. You called, the other said. Manny didn't speak. He didn't need to. The silence between them thickened. Each grinned, showing the same overlapped tooth as if it was proof they were the same, that they were many. With their eyes only, each stood watching each other as if they were picking back up a conversation left unfinished years ago. Finally, the other nodded, understanding. We have work to do, Manny said. I can't wait, the other said. Let us compare notes first, Manny responded. Who you've killed? Who I've killed? Yes. And that's the first part.
I love that. And if you guys want more, get the book and then you can read the rest of the stories. Nathan, no. I already know he bought the book, so just gotta give him some crap here. But yeah, I'm excited to have this come out. I've been waiting, since we got it all finished, got the cover picked out, picked the date for the release. I've been drumming and waiting for this to come out. So this has been fun. I appreciate you guys coming on and joining me. I think it's great. And again, I really encourage the fellowship to do it again. I would love to participate again. So we've completed this. Let's do it again.
100%. And thank you for having us on. This was a great opportunity.
No, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and when you guys, get a book going live, reach out and I can have you back and we can talk about that. Anything that you want to add before we kind of wind her up and kick it over the fence?
I think just, again, a thank you to the people like, Nicole, the people who were involved that kind of helped spearhead this, Stephen, Delindo. I mean, they really kind of help keep us on pace. And I just want to make sure we give them, you already said it, but I do want to thank them additionally because that helped a lot. I think if it would have just been 19 authors and not having that outside person kind of pushing us, it might have been a little different. But Nicole, I mean, she's got a lot going on right now. It sounds like with families, growing, and so it's just a neat time for all of us.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah,
I'd echo that.
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, I would echo that. I think every good project or good initiative needs a good project manager, and I think we had a good team of them that was very helpful in seeing us over the fence and with minimal pain or discomfort along the way.
Well, not just that, but doing all the other things. Us artists, helping with the cover, all the editing, every step of the way. It truly felt like a fellowship, and my axe.
All right, guys. We've had some great commentary going on in the chat with different people who have also participated. I know many folks were wanting to come on this evening. We picked the best time we could for some folks to come on. So I appreciate you guys coming on. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I'll see you on the other side in the room there. But thank you everybody who's watched. And again, pick up the Tales of the Fellowship of the Indie Author, Volume 1, hopefully one of many. It's a great opportunity to check out 19 unique stories from indie authors that you might find your next true love. So definitely check it out.